In this video, I'm going to show how and why to use a thermostat. So this is a Husqvarna FC350, which is a motocross bike. Motocross bikes in general do not come with thermostats, unlike a lot of enduro bikes that would. In this case, I have accommodated the hose to allow for the thermostat to go. This is the pump that's going to flow water coolant into the radiators. The thermostat can go here, which can basically block the flow until the engine is up to temperature. Now, for snow bikes, in general, you want them to run around 195 degrees or so. So 195 degree thermostat is what I've selected. And the one that I selected is from C3, but there's others like Thermobob, etc., which all work pretty well. One change I made to this over what they had originally is they came with these little plugs like this. I replaced those with this style, which you can get from Menards or Home Depot, etc. And you do want to use some form of a sealant. That's the sealant they recommend. Note it does say PTFE based. That's just a different way of saying Teflon based. Why Teflon? It resists heat pretty well, and it also resists moisture. It's hydrophobic, so it doesn't take on moisture. So in any case, I also have other options which I prefer. I actually use a little bit of this liquid-based thread sealant. Stays relatively non-hard, meaning it doesn't dry. I use a little of that on the threads, followed by a bit of Teflon tape, followed by a little bit more of this, and I find that does a really good job. Okay, and this thermostat you can see in there, so it has the thermostat which opens at 195 degrees to allow fluid or coolant to go past. Now when you mount this, so I mounted mine like that, this actually will clock. There's a little O-ring in there so that you can move to accommodate whatever angle you would want. Okay. Important though, once you think you have a good spot, make sure you go in and put everything else back, so the exhaust, etc., to make sure that you don't have interference, especially from the exhaust, because that's going to be pretty hot and potentially melt and disturb things. So this is how that'll go in there. All right, I'm going to show you how I go about sealing the threads for these. So there are a few different ways to do it, as mentioned earlier, but my technique is to use a little bit of this liquid-based thread sealant. I'm going to put some of that right on the threads there. And technically you should be able to use either this liquid gel stuff or the tape. I use both. So get a little bit of that on there. And take just a short length of Teflon tape. I don't want to go crazy on it because it'll be too tight to fit in the threads. And then there is a correct way to wrap the Teflon tape around the threads. And the reason there is because you want the action of tightening the plug to not loosen the Teflon tape, or rather, keep it nice and tight. So the way I like to remember it is to tighten this, I'm going to rotate it to the right or rotate it clockwise like that. So as I put the Teflon tape on, I want it to wrap as I'm rotating to the right. So watch. So I got it such that as I wrap it tighter, I'm rotating it to the right. Okay. So then when I go to tighten this in there, it'll have the action of actually tightening the Teflon tape around it rather than unraveling it. So that's an important piece. And then I just kind of smooth it out pretty good like that. And then put a little extra of this stuff on the outer portion. Again, kind of overkill, but that's kind of the policy on this channel and this shop. All right, there we are. Good amount of it. Now you don't want to go crazy. You don't want globs on there that are going to get stuck in there, block things up. So there we are. I'm going to put a good amount of tightness on that. And unlike this one here, where you keep tightening that thing, it'll actually go inside. It'll completely go in there. This I can just tighten up until it stops, and then I know I'm good. You don't want to strip the threads out, so don't go crazy, but get it nice and snug. See, there we are. That should be nice and solid. Alright, so I'm going to show you how the plumbing for the heated bars looks now that it's all completed. And I would really recommend just taking your time, making sure everything is where it needs to be. There's not interference between, hot engine parts and hoses, etc. I even kind of put this is actually wire loom with some zip ties over it to a little extra protection since the exhaust runs right next to there.